All righty, we are live. Hello, hello, and welcome everybody. We have a great discussion lined up for you on today's show, starting with Trump's recent disparaging comments about our men and women in uniform. And also, he had a recent ban on federal agencies conducting cultural sensitivity trainings. And we have a whole lot other things that we will be talking on tonight's show. The title of today's show is Unapologetically, I Am a Man, a collection of poems by my guest today, Mr. Cornelius Maxwell. He's a speaker, author, advocate, veteran. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Obi. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Welcome, welcome.
Good.
And I am Obi, and this is the News with Obi, where we talk about all things politics happening in our local community and around the world. All right, all right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. If you are going to be listening to this on the podcast later, thank you for listening. So, Mr. Maxwell, let's dive right into it. We have a lot to talk about on tonight's show. Your book, first of all, Unapologetically, I Am a Man, is a collection of poems that speaks to the injustices Black people in this country have faced while also encouraging and uplifting us, right? What really motivated you to write this book?
Well, I feel like this is something I should have done my entire life. I felt like I've always wanted to be an author. And I was just doing some research on Martin Luther King Jr. and his last protest, I Am a Man, and it inspired me. And it led from one poem to the next poem about what's going on with injustice in America, how we can come to a common ground, because the racism in America is not a Democrat or a Republican or a libertarian or independent party issue. It's an entire American issue. This issue has been an issue in America since the beginning. So we need to come to a point in America where we need to say we need to fix this issue. And we need to come to a place where we actually address this issue instead of trying to sugarcoat it or just beating around the bush on it. And so that's why I decided to address this issue, because I just didn't want to beat around the bush. I didn't want to just sugarcoat it. I wanted to actually address these issues because we're in the point in time right now where we can change the narrative of history. Right? And so in doing so, is either we can live in the history that's already been set for us, or we can create a new narrative and create a new future for our children, our children's children.
Right. And also with the recent uprisings that we see going on, despite that, people have been out in massive numbers, even with a pandemic, to protest. And your book is actually really fitting right now, right? Based on everything that we've seen going on. Talk to us a little bit about how the book focusing on some of the social injustices, like, the George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, all that we see going on. And most recently, the March on Washington that happened in D.C.
Well, it approaches those issues because like I said, it's an American issue, right? Right?
And I put it up too. They'll have a little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the thing is it's an issue of change,
right?
Create it, or we can stop it, and it's at an individual level. And so I call everyone to action. It doesn't matter what your nationality is, your color. It's a call of action that says that you can do something about this at a particular level. And so that's the impact I wanted to make, was the fact that everyone can be involved in politics, especially when I talk to people in the Black community. A lot of them say, well, they won't do this for us in politics and they won't do that. Yeah. And I inform them that you have a right to do so yourself, and you can do that by getting involved. You can get involved in district meetings. You can get involved and going to different events. You can get involved by just not watching the news. You know, you just can't watch the news and vote every 4 years. It's more to politics.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, and that's what I'm doing. I'm calling a call to action, because if you're not participating at every level, then the reason we're being held back as a race of people is because we're not participating, and we have a birthright in this country that says we can participate in the politics of our nation.
Yeah.
So it's up to act upon it, and we really need to act upon it as a group of people, because we have a system that says legislators can only be in office for 2 years before they have to get reelected, so somebody else can have the chance to take their slot, right?
Right.
So, when you looked at other government regimes, like in the ancient Romans and stuff like that, you had to have a father that served in the Senate. You know, your father had to be a king in order for you to take reigns as king. Well, we don't have that in America. We can say I can become a senator if I put in the work. I can be an activist if I put in the work. I can be a judge if I put in the work.
Yeah.
And so the thing is we have to get involved, and we can't say someone else is going to put up our freedom when you have to fight for it yourself. And that's one thing I loved about the Civil War, when he talked about I say this all the time, right? About the Black Republicans in the Civil War, when they said, well, no, you know, the white men and stuff said they're going to fight for the freedom of the slaves. And they said, no, I got to fight for my freedom too. Exactly. This is my right. And this is for my heirs. So I have to go on the battlefield. And that's the thing telling us as well, is we have to get involved. We have to do that. And we have to get involved at every level of politics, whether it's the county commissioner, whether it's the mayor, whether it's the school board. We have to really just get involved, dive and get involved, and teach this to our children as well.
What advice do you have for anybody that's interested in going into politics and they don't know how to go about doing that or running for office, especially Black women in America now? What advice do you have for them?
Well, personally, I'd say develop a platform, right? Give 2 or 3 talking points that you're passionate about.
Right.
Start talking to people about it. Grassroots. Everyone, you know, most people get in politics, they get in through grassroots.
Right.
You do the grassroots. And from there, you start developing audience. You start meeting more people. You start networking, meeting more people, and you start growing in relationships. And then as you grow in relationships, you start growing in position, because you got people who are in position that can help you get there.
Right.
So
don't let the money part intimidate anyone that really wants to run for office.
Correct. The majority of people come into office as grassroots anyways. So a lot of them start off with no money anyways, and they grow, and they grow that way. So you have to grow. It's like any business, right? We look at business. You don't have to have a lot of money to start all business, depending on the barrier entrance of the business.
Exactly.
So when you look at the barrier entrance, you can get in these businesses with $10 or whatever it takes to get an LLC and hustle. And that's the same thing. Push it and hustle. Have faith.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see the end result now, but if you push it and work hard and believe in it and make sacrifices for it, then you see the end result.
Yeah.
You willing to work for that end result.
Yeah. And we do normally we have people watching that have questions. It's going to come in a question comment section. If they do have any questions for you, we can put that up on the screen. Is there, I mean, I know it's a book of poems and you probably love all the poems in your book. Is there a poem in there right now that you can read to us that will resonate in this particular time that we're in?
Sure. All right. I got one. I've been using it for my promotions.
Okay.
And it's titled, I've Been Told by Society, because again, it's all about the birthrights.
Right.
And that's generationally. And so this is some things I've been told my entire life. So like I said, this is the title, I've Been Told by Society, from the book, Unapologetically, I'm a Man.
Okay.
Freedom will always elude me. Prosperity will not embrace me. The war on drugs will enslave me. Prison is my destiny. Death at a young age is my prophecy. Not able to provide for my family is the way that I'm cursed generationally. To be a pillar in society is not even a possibility. These quotes my whole life I've been told continuously, but I can't understand what I've been told conceptually. God's favor is blessing me eternally. Can't measure my growth infinitely to defy the odds stacked against me perpetually.
Wow.
And that
And
is
we,
all I've been told by society. And that's pretty much how I feel. I've been told society I can never achieve things. You'll always be a failure because of your skin color, And I even tell stories that even when I was like 7 years old, I had I met one of my neighbors, and he was like, "Well, you don't come from the typical background for a black person, so I hate you and I want to kill you." And the guy actually spent a year and a half plotting my murder when I was like 7 years old. And
wow.
yeah, and it just so happened that I come from praying parents. And my parents prayed. My mother always said, "Hey, take this route home. Don't take this route today." And it just so happened it was that route she gave me was a counter move.
At
Uh,
7 years old?
correct. And and society, because again, society put these labels on us. And so I
Yeah.
started learning at a young age, even at the age of 5. I think I was like kindergarten, pre-K. And we had one teacher when all the kids outside playing ball, playing in recess. And I was outside playing basketball, shooting the ball by myself. And this particular teacher would come out and put all the black kids in timeout. You all got to stand in the corner, let everybody else play.
Yeah.
So I asked my mom about it, like, what's up with this?
Yeah.
And so she came and she had my dad. My dad was in the army at the time. So my dad took off work in the army, talked to his chain of command, he took a lunch break, whatever, and he came. So both my parents were watching this, and they put all the black kids in timeout. And so they went and called the principal, and they got the principal to watch this. And this went on for about a good week or two. And then they turned around and talked to that teacher, and they ended up stopping. They stopped doing that. But like I said, even at a young age, that age, society was telling me that I didn't belong with their cultures. While I would be in prison, sitting in the cell in timeout and punishment for attempting to fit in, it didn't matter. Being a pillar in society is not an option for me. And so that was the option that they were trying to instill in my head. Right. But I came from a background. My parents taught us that these things don't apply to me. God's favor is blessing me.
Find who you are.
Correct. So, and that's the thing. It's like I can't let that stop me. They can't measure my growth infinitely. And so, you can't measure my growth the way I'm growing is infinitely. Then I'm trying to defy the odds stacked against me perpetually. It's been set since before I was born. Instead of set after my birth. Even after my time on this earth is over with. Yeah. So, and I want to be able to set things in place that does so. Like my life's mission is to be able to help or inspire as many people as numerous as the stars in the sky. Yeah. And so I put my words in this book to do so, because I feel that I bring that passion, that pain of experiencing racism, but I also present a future that says we can go beyond this and we can overcome this. And I create challenges. I challenge Black men, hey, let's take charge of our homes again. Let's take charge of our homes. Let's lead our women. Let's lead our children. Yeah. And I challenge, even our women, hey, we are queens. You're queens. Carry yourself as queens and start and conduct yourself as queens.
What kind of feedback have you been getting from the book, though?
I've gotten great feedback. Actually, if you go to Amazon, you see all my ratings are 100%, 5 out of 5 stars.
It is actually, yeah. That's awesome. And people have been telling you they've been actually benefiting from reading the book, especially during these times.
Correct. And it's people of different cultures. So it's not just Black people that's something they benefited from. It's people that are white, that are Hispanic, that are Asian. They have all told me that they benefit from this book, and they were able to apply it to themselves personally, which I feel is awesome and is a blessing, and it's humbling to know they've accepted these words and my words. So
yeah, that's awesome. Congrats on that. That's amazing. And let's switch gears a little bit. Being that you are a veteran, I do want to talk about recently, Trump made some disparaging comments about men and women in uniform, referring to them as losers and suckers. As a veteran, how does those comments make you feel?
Well, I did some research on that.
Okay.
And I haven't. When I saw my research, I seen the actual article came from out the Atlantic,
right?
And so, and Atlantic is based off of he say she say. It doesn't even show an article where it says came directly from him, right? Mm-hmm. And so, my thing is, it's hard for me to condemn someone on something that someone else says about them, right? Mm-hmm. If it comes directly from them, I can say, no, it comes from the source. Then I can hold them accountable for what they said. But if it comes from somebody else, it's hard for me to hold them accountable. Especially when I look at my life and people hold me accountable for something that from stereotypes that don't even pertain to me. Mm.
So are you saying that he did not make those comments, even though we've seen in the past that he's made similar comments easily about, Black people or even African countries?
Well, like I said, it's hard for me to say that he said it if I haven't seen any clips that says that's shown him speaking. You see, like this is recorded. It's showing me speaking. You can take my words as he said that because it's me sitting here speaking.
But he did send out a tweet about John McCain that got pulled up. He did make a reference about, John McCain being captured doesn't make him a hero, and they pulled those tweets up. So if they're saying that, if they're able to pull up those tweets and actually also saying that he said this about the U.S. servicemen, and I understand what you're saying, till you're able to see it, you won't be able to condemn it. I totally understand that. Yeah. And in terms of, I don't know if you saw the question that I brought up about the New York Times 1619 project.
Okay.
About the public schools in California, the curriculum where they're now trying to investigate if the first slave ship arrived on American soil and if they should be using that as part of their curriculum. Now, leading also into that, the administration is also banning any kind of diversity training, but prohibiting cultural sensitivity training in workplaces. Do you think cultural sensitivity training in workplaces is important?
I think they are important, personally. And any job you want to have some sort of training said this is how you treat your coworkers. So I do agree with that aspect, and because it does make a difference, and it teaches people from different perspectives. When you can come up there and say, "Hey, look, this is my perspective on certain topics," and especially when you look at culture sensitivity, when a lot of people where it's, let's say, for instance, let's say I'm in a conversation or people are in a conversation, they're talking about their family history and they're going all the way back to the 1400s, and in my case, I'm sitting there quiet because I don't have that connection. I'm out the conversation because I don't have that history, So with that, it makes a difference. It also lets you understand the other people's perspective, so you can work with them. So I believe that cultural sensitivity training is cool and it's good and it's a good mechanism to teach. So now, as far as
so now that it's being banned or they're working on banning that, what effect do you think that might have in some workplaces, especially now that we've seen everything that's been going on in the country?
Well, I don't. Well, according to reports I've seen, it wasn't banned. But they said it was doing an investigation from what I saw on the report.
Right. They made the announcement.
Yeah. I think I saw it was like ABC or something like that said it. So based on just this information that I have, it is just that I've seen that they're saying they're investigating. They wanted to know more about the actual program, I guess is what they were saying in the investigation, to see if it was really legit and would it be divisive, is what I actually saw from the program, from my eyes. So to say that it's to see how this goes and how it plays out, I like to see how it plays out, and I want to see more about the 1619 project, the New York Times 1619 project, because I did listen to like an episode or two of it, and it's kind of and about a good 45 minutes to an hour, and 41 minutes some change to be exact. And so it was really intriguing. It was really informative. The first episode that I heard, that I listened to,
right.
And I'm going to listen to some more of it because I believe it was like 5 or 6 episodes.
Right.
So, and I'm going to listen to some more of it because that's new to me. So,
right. But I don't think there's anything wrong with including that part of history in a school curriculum. I think it's necessary because a lot of us, finish school and we don't know that part. We have to go research that on our own. So, personally, I think that's important. So I want to go back let's dive into your work. I know you talk about your transition units theory concept, which provided solution to veteran PTSD, homelessness, unemployment, and assistance for veterans to acquire earned benefits. Talk to us a little bit about that and how that whole concept came about.
All right. I'd like to say first off that right now it's up for a Vetty Award. So I've been nominated for a Vetty Award for leadership.
Oh, congrats. Yeah, that's good.
Yes, thank you. And so the voting process begins now. So make sure I want to make sure y'all just know to vote for the transition units theory. Well, how this came about was I initially my mother's an artist,
Okay.
and so she was working at getting her brand out there, and we came up with this idea called the Honor Our Hero series, where it's from her perspective, which she honored the vets, and we were taking a list down, and our goal is to get the names of 100,000 vets to dedicate the art service, the art to, and we do this every couple of years or so,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted to. But it's from her perspective, from a wife and mother of vets, because my dad's retired Army. I served 3 tours in Iraq, and my younger brother served a tour in Iraq.
Oh, wow.
So, and so we're giving it from her perspective, how she viewed things and things of that nature. And so, at the time they were living in Oklahoma, so we turned around, we held the art exhibition there at the Oklahoma State Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
Turned around from there, and we were able to hold a press conference. We held a press conference there. We held an award ceremony honoring some vets for their services and those that worked with the Oklahoma Department of Veteran Affairs. We thanked them for their service, and we had an award ceremony. Then we had a speech, and during the award ceremony process,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine, his name is Major Vernon Knowles. He's retired. He gave a speech, and then I gave a speech, which I introduced to transition units theory.
Okay.
My friend, a guy who I served in Iraq with on my first deployment, his name is Robbie Person. He recorded it and put it on Facebook. And so I prayed about this concept, and I prayed about it again. And I said, this is a theory of mine. Maybe it'll work, maybe it doesn't. I just put it out there.
Okay.
And recorded it. It got good feedback. Like instantly, like as soon as he put it on Facebook, I believe like within an hour, it had like 1,800 views. Like within an hour.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it just took off.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was around
needed. It's actually all those points were needed.
Yeah.
And I've always questioned why veterans, from what we've seen, sometimes don't really get adequately compensated in this country. Can you speak on that? And that's again why your program is awesome,
Yes. Well, like I said, is a lot of times there's penalties for having PTSD or showing signs of mental health. So I want to isolate these guys so that way they don't have the unit and the stress of being, let's say, flagged. It makes sense to be flagged or a flag is something that's like a penalty that says a weapon and things of that nature if you have mental health issues, which because you have to go to combat, we have to give you a weapon. And if you're having these issues, we don't want to give you a weapon. It makes sense. Right. So, but if you're leaving the military, let's not put that flag because you're already leaving the military anyway. So let's get these guys the help that they need and the service that they need without the penalties and without the pressure of the unit and things of that nature, right? Since they're already heading out the military anyways. And so, and the same thing for setting them up for entrepreneurship, the same thing we just really want to focus on them individually so they can develop a plan for their civilian plan, their civilian life. Because you have to develop a system already to be successful. You just can't say, hey, I'm going to go in the civilian world and then just be successful. You need networks, you need connections, you need, financial resources. You're going to need resources all across the board. And you're coming out, you don't have these things, especially coming from the military background where, especially you did like multiple combat deployments like myself, where I'll come back to the States for like 6 months, maybe a year, and I'm back over again in Iraq for a whole nother year. And so that's let's say my 3 tours, that's like 3 years of me missing opportunities to network and connect with people and stuff like that. So what I'm providing is the opportunities for everyone to have these vets to have the opportunity to network and make connections and build those relationships prior to leaving the military.
Are you getting any assistance from the Department of the Veteran Affairs, or is this solely something that you've been doing on your own?
It's solely I've been doing on my own.
Wow.
And I've been I presented to a few generals, and they love the idea and the concept. And it's just been getting great attention. People are like, wow, it's one of those ideas like it's simple,
Yeah,
It,
but why didn't we think about it before now?
correct.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the thing about it. It's like it's easy to grasp, and and that's why I wanted to be as well. That's why I prayed about it so hard because I wanted to be easy to grasp.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it was. People grasped it and been grasping it, and it was just surprising because I got an email just very like last week, and they said you've been nominated for a Vetty Award, and which is going to, if you're familiar with the Vettys, that's like the Oscars for the veteran community after.
That's nice. And where
Mhm.
can we go vote for this award again? Tell us again.
Okay, you can go to their website, the Vettys the AUSV, which is the Academy of United States Veterans. You go to their website, go to the leadership, go to nominations, and when the
Okay.
nominations is leadership, and from leadership is transition units theory.
Okay, I'm gonna try to type that in so that people can see it on the screen. So what is it again?
All
Vetty?
right. Yes, it's it's AUSV.org, which stands for the Academy of United States Veterans.
Okay. That's it?
That's it. You go there, and then you go to where the tab which says nominations,
Okay.
and you can find it under leadership. There's several categories, and then under the leadership category, there's the transition units theory. It's
And
actually the
transition units theory. Okay. All
Mhm.
right. We are definitely, I'm gonna put that out there so we can definitely check that out. When is the deadline to vote?
Well, we have all the way to March 21st, March 1st, 2021.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
we
so
have,
we have time to keep voting and getting more votes and
yeah.
things of that. So, mhm.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's talk about election. November 3rd is fastly approaching, and the world will be watching as the US picks who will be the next president of the United States. Talk to people who don't want to vote or who believe that their vote don't count.
I believe your vote does count. People die if you right to vote. I remember being in Iraq back in '06, and that was the bloodiest time of the year because that was their first elections, and people, I believe it was like 180,000 people died for the right to vote, right? And when you look in the Civil War, right, those individuals died for the right for freedom, but they didn't just die for freedom; they died for the right to be involved in politics.
Right.
Because look at what freedom is. Freedom is to having the authority to have political authority or have political influence, as well as acquire wealth, land, and be able to pass an inheritance down to your future heirs. This is what freedom is.
Right.
And so if you don't vote, you automatically eliminate yourself from being free,
Mm.
right? Somebody else is telling you this is what you're going to do. These are the policies you're going to follow, and you're going to do as I tell you, and you just accept it,
Yeah.
right? If you vote, and that's why I said we need to be involved in not just the voting process, but all parts of the political process, because then we can determine, set in place things that benefit your interests,
Right.
right? And so you cannot benefit your interests if somebody else is telling you what your interests are.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So pretty
Mm-hmm.
much, whatever we got to do November 3rd, even if it means requesting a ballot to be safe, request a ballot, send it out early. If you can go to the polls to vote, make sure that you are ready to stand in line for the duration of the time and make sure you have your mask and everything that you need. So, but most importantly, all voices need to be heard regardless on November 3rd. Yeah. So
Yes,
talk
and I agree with that.
yeah. Talk to us about any upcoming projects that you have. I know we talked a little bit about the award show and the book, but talk to us again about projects you have coming up, how our viewers can help, how we can support you.
All right. Right now, I'm getting the book out there. I want to get the word out, especially just across the country. I want to get across all cultures because it's so important that we understand the pain of the Black community. But then we have to come to a point where, America is a nation that was founded upon um, Christian doctrine, right? So if you take Christian doctrine and we say when you've done wrong, you have to atone for it, atonement. And that's something we've never done in America's atone.
Mm.
So an atonement is just of creating a form of forgiveness that allows healing for the victim, but it also allows redemption for the perpetrator. And we have to create systems that create these processes. So, and this is something America's never done when it comes to this issue.
Right.
So, and that's the thing. So what we need to be talking about on the ballot is, okay, we have prison reform, right? So we want to talk about prison reform. How can we make prison reform even better, right? We have the First Step Act, but what can we do to make it better, right? What can we do about the judges, right? If false incarcerated, say if what can we do about DAs that say, hey, I know this person's innocent, but I'm going to pursue the charges anyways, right?
Mm,
Can we make sure they get punished for it, right?
yeah.
We want to put businesses in Black neighborhoods. So
Right.
we want to increase our education levels, right? So, like for example, I want to personally, I think what would be great is we create some sort of trade schools back, like we used to have,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because at the high school level, you come out of school back in the 60s and 70s, you come out as an auto mechanic. But I want to include more than just that. I want to include something like an associate's in like political science.
Okay.
That way our people can learn more about the political process and walk around and say, you know what, I got an associate's. It may not be just, or even some sort of certificate of training, or achievement or something.
Okay.
That way they can learn about the political process and teach their brothers and sisters. Then I want to do something along the lines of, as well as business, where we can teach them some business training and fun, because we have programs that help us to be entrepreneurs as minorities, like the SBA. The SBA have programs, right? Now, are they perfect? I'm not going to say that, but I mean, they're there, right? And so,
I don't know. I wouldn't say that they're always easily accessible either.
correct.
Yeah.
But still there, and they're still, you can get to them, right? Because I
Right.
know my mother, we got her artwork set up in the SBA, her as an artist through the women-owned business. So it's possible, and there's possibilities there. You just have to be persistent.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with government, you have to
Yeah. You
consistently.
have to be persistent. Yeah.
Correct. And so, and that's anything in government. You have to be persistent. You just can't say, I'll try one time, that's enough. No, you got to try like every day, 3 times a day for like a year.
Exactly. Because you have a pool of people trying. So one can easily get lost in that process. So persistence is key, definitely.
Correct. And that's the thing, we just can't give up, and we have to keep doing this. And I think if we start teaching our people how to invest in business, right? And we start teaching them how to invest in politics, and we start teaching them how to invest in our family structure, because that's most important, the family structure. While I was taught that charity begins at home. You learn how to be charitable and how to treat people from what you're taught at home.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that's so important. So we need to put back our family birthrights instead of letting society dictate our birthrights.
Yeah.
Right? Can't let society dictate our birthright for us. We have to dictate one for ourselves.
Exactly.
And even though our history may say, hey, we start with slaves as being slaves, that doesn't mean we can't overcome from being slaves. And that's what we need, is to determine a legacy of pride that says, you know what, yeah, that we may have started that way, but look how we come. Look how we, and that's what I think is so important about getting the book out there. Because like I said, I just released it on June 19th, on Juneteenth.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome, man. It's picked up so much momentum since June, just a few months back. So congrats. That's amazing. And I hope that our viewers today get to go to Amazon and get the book. I'm going to put it up again. It is Unapologetically, I Am a Man. It is on Amazon. You can also get the Kindle copy on Amazon as well. Definitely check it out. It's I read some excerpts from the book and it was amazing. So thank you so much for definitely putting this out. It's a great project. And do you have any where we can find you? Email, website? I know I had your website up earlier. So
yes, that's my website, mr-maxwell.com. You can also send me an email, info@mr-maxwell.com. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on those sites as well. And I'm just trying to just make a difference in this country. This is my chance right now, because I'm alive now. I won't live forever. So what I can now with what I know, with what I understand, and I'm trying to get more people involved based on those principles and criteria. So
kudos. And just writing the book, trust me, that's a huge legacy that you are leaving behind. So thank you so much for doing that. And thank you, everybody. I know I see some people came in and left. Thank you for joining us for another episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave a review, share with your friends. The News with Obi runs on donations from, people. So if you click on the link, there's a PayPal link. If you want to donate, that's absolutely fine. And also make sure you subscribe to News with Obi on all social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, podcasts on Apple, and also on Spotify is all the News with Obi. And thank you, Mr. Maxwell, for being on the show. I really appreciate you accommodating the schedule and giving me everything I needed to get prepared for today's show. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, Obi. I thank your audience for listening to me and for having me. And I really hope they learn something and are inspired by this conversation that we had, and I hope they learn something from the book as well, and as well as from the transition units theory. So I really hope that they're really inspired. Like I really pray that they're inspired.
They will definitely. Everybody that's listening or watching, I'm sure they will be inspired because your book is inspiring. And thank you, everybody, for watching, and thank you for listening. If you're going to be listening to this on podcasts later, and until next time, everybody, be well, be safe, and wear your mask while you're out there. Everybody, have a good night.